be very, very quiet.
We are from Slovenia and we do biathlon and we love Yankee TV.
Kdo se boji kosmatega moža? Kaj pa če pride?
Kvalifikacijska skupina!
Šestdeset je velika cifra, tako da je kar težko, zelo veliki fajt, tako da tekma tako je treba.
Tara, again, this week we are so lucky to partner with Red Bull, who brought us some insane footage from spring skiing in Slovenia.
Yes, this week's show is called Awakenings. Finally, it's spring. We're so excited. And we're going to share with you about spring in the Northeast. There are some amazing contributions that we have right here from our Native Americans.
And also the stewardship from the New Hampshire Fish and Game we'll cover.
Yeah. And Bucky, don't forget, the original energy drink right here from Mother Nature. Pure maple syrup.
I'll drink to that.
That's awesome.
And you know, you like snakes, I know that. I guarantee I've got a snake that you haven't seen. A lot of our viewers haven't either.
Yeah.
Let's check it out.
We are so fortunate at Wicked Yankee TV to have a remarkable resource so close by. Dartmouth College in Hanover, New Hampshire celebrates its 250th anniversary this year. In 1972, in keeping with its original mission of educating American Indians, the college established one of the first Native American programs in the country. With over 1,000 alumni, Dartmouth has more Native graduates than any other Ivy League school combined. Recognized by the Carnegie Foundation, it is one of the finest institutions in the country for academic research. Dartmouth, as well as the Sherman House Library, continues to work with Wicked Yankee TV to bring these great stories to life. It is this rich history and fascinating people that makes the Northeast a great place to live. Through them, we met Chief Nate Pirro of the Kawasaki tribe. We talked with him recently at his home in Vermont.
The children, on a nice warm day, they would run through the village and holler snow snake.
Snow snake? Snow snake? What's a snow snake?
Your parents never told you?
No, I don't know anything.
Don't be careful going out there because the snow snakes might bite you. You never had that snake?
No, that's so
Snow snake.
I had never heard of that.
This is a 5-foot snow snake made from maple.
That looks like a bed slat. Practically.
It could be, but if you hold it up and look down it, you'll see that it's only hits on a couple spots.
You're right, the way it's planed.
Yes.
Okay.
And this is for distance. That's a 5-foot, this is a 3-foot, and this is another 3-foot. And I've got a whole bunch more that I take to schools and we play. And what it is we will take a round log and we will draw it through the snow to make a long channel.
Okay.
And then different people would stand up, you throw your snake, you know, down this chute, and where it would stop, you pick it up and set it in the snow. The next person would slide theirs to go, see if you can go further. And then the next one would go further. It was used at the point where, like we used to do with marbles. Whoever's snake went the furthest would go down and collect all the snakes back because they belonged to that person.
Oh my gosh, that's so
So
cool.
when you would go to your snow snake games, you made snakes all summer long.
And these
so
are
that,
the snakes.
So that some are brown, some are, you know, I mean, you keep modifying, making them better and better because you want them to win.
Right.
And so you keep your best ones, so when everybody else played their best one, you can throw yours and collect theirs.
So it's like holding some
Oh
cards.
yeah, it's quite a strategy to it, but we play in fun this time, and we will invite everybody to come, and I will put up 4 quarts of syrup for the winners.
Oh, that's great.
And of course, we always eat very, very well.
Well, what types of foods would you make at these? So these are big snake parties.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you could say that fast. Snow snake. That's hard to say fast. But you would have these parties. What type of food would you serve? Because this is in the wintertime.
Yeah.
So
I
you
mean,
want some hearty.
Oh, today everybody brings everything.
Yeah, these sticks, they got spirits. Like they're made from living trees, so it carries that spirit of that tree, and they can hear you when you holler. You know, they'll encourage it. Yeah, want it to slide further, and then other guys trying to stop it.
Snow snakes is a uniquely American Indian game. It began centuries ago, found among the northern tribes where rivers and lakes froze over in the winter. Wooden spears such as these were used for hunting large game on the ice, the spear sliding easily to its prey. It then became a way of communicating between winter encampments and villages. A message written on charcoal could be relayed along its frozen track. It could slide for miles on the ice. The construction of the track is a great community effort, requiring teamwork. The sense of family and generational sharing is evident as both young and old come together to celebrate the centuries-old and much-loved tradition. The speed is remarkable of these snow snakes. They often reach 100 miles per hour, traveling over a mile.
You know, you can't carve unless you have a sharp knife. And you have to learn those techniques once you do have a sharp knife to use it in a manner where you're not going to be cutting yourself all the time. So I thought it would be neat just to try it myself as a carver, just like the snow snakes. It's been so long since somebody tried carving one of those, and me and my dad was like, yeah, we should just try to do it. You know, we can do it. So we did it, and it was pretty neat. Most of the ones are carved out to look like a snake. They got the eyes and the mouth. And on an icy track, this one's heavier, and it'll probably go faster. The ash, yeah. This one's better because it's wider and it's got more of a curve to it. Better for like a soft snow. Okay. So it's kind of neat because they all have their different. They all function differently because of the design. So.
We're here with Andy Bullock, the director of the Kearsarge Indian Museum in Warner, New Hampshire. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Tara, for joining us.
Thank you. Andy, how did you get involved with this really cool museum?
It's an exciting place, and actually my connections to the museum go back some 40 years when I first met Bud and Nancy Thompson. At that time they were involved with Shaker Village in Canterbury, and they lived there for 30-some years, and I first met Bud through some mutual acquaintances and discovered his passion not only for Shakers but also for Native American art.
Yeah, he has an amazing story. He's been collecting since he was in 2nd grade.
Exactly. Yes.
That's crazy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And his interest is not in collecting things, but more in telling the story of the importance of the interconnectedness to the environment and ecology.
That is what is so great about this museum, and you're partnering with the Discovery Center right next door. It is about getting people excited, involved with the rich cultural history of the Native Americans and the rich natural history that is right here in New Hampshire.
Exactly. And a lot of people don't realize that we have a 12-acre campus. So we've got not only just the museum, but 2.5-acre Medicine Woods, which is a wooded trail. Yeah. And then also there's about a 5-acre arboretum at the south end of the property that has about 70 different species of trees that are all identified.
Oh, that's fantastic. I mean, look, that's a lacrosse stick.
Exactly, yes. Lacrosse was developed here in the Northeast, and certainly is still played today internationally. So it's got wonderful history here. And we're in the Northeast section of the museum. The museum is actually set up in 7 different areas. The Northeast, which is kind of where we are here in New England and Maritime Canada, and certainly talks about birch bark containers and canoes. Our wonderful collection of snowshoes, which just show the huge variety of cultural expression. Okay.
So Andy, what room is this?
So we're still in the Northeast at this point, and some of my favorite parts of the collection are some of the quilled boxes and quilled containers from the last couple of 100 years. We also have a wonderful exhibit of moose hair embroidery.
Moose hair? That's made from moose?
Exactly, yes.
Oh my, I didn't know they used moose hair for any of that stuff.
Exactly. And so then we've also just recently come into the Southeast collection, and this collection has been
gorgeous
in the process of being renovated this last couple of weeks. So we've still got some ladders and some construction, but certainly by May 1st it'll be all tuned up and ready to go.
Andy, you've made a great effort of making sure the different regions are represented here. I love it.
Well, thank you. And I think a lot of people assume that it's just going to be some Northeast material, but
Right.
I can assure you we have things from different cultural areas. And in the Southwest, we've got some wonderful pottery and baskets, and certainly look forward to people coming for a closer look there.
It's amazingly diverse. How they, and also, what is this? Papoose? What's that?
In each of the different areas, we have examples of different cradle boards that they would have carried children in. This is one from the California area. And again, a way that we educate people on the fact that there are 600 different groups here, and they continue to have different cultural expressions. So then we come into the Great Plains. One of the favorite parts of the tour is certainly the plains and the teepee and bison exhibit. So a lot of people are very excited about that part of the collection.
Andy, did the Northeast Indians use teepees like the Great Plains Indians?
No, they did not. No. So certainly here in the Northeast, that would have been wigwams and wickiups and more of a bark covered framed building. We do have an example out in the fields of just one of those frames.
And Andy, I also have a question.
Yes.
Here, this is interesting to me.
Yes.
This, Bucky and I were talking. So this is one of the first horse-drawn sleds, would you say?
Exactly. So the Plains Indians originally had to carry all of their materials either by themselves or with dogs. So dogs would have had very small trailers, travois, and so once the introduction of the horse, it certainly revolutionized the whole economy and lifestyle of the Plains Indian. So then they could have larger teepees, were able to hunt buffalo much more efficiently, and it certainly just changed the whole environment on the plains. So the horse is quite integral to that.
I had no idea that they used dogs.
Yes.
So did the Northeast Indians use dogs, or was it mostly Plains?
I think that as a beast of burden, the Plains, they did that more. I think they had dogs here in the Northeast as well, but they were more.
Oh, see, they were like the first dog sled teams.
That's
great. I had no idea.
Yes.
And this is another papoose here.
Yes.
As a mom, I find this very interesting.
So we actually have several different examples of cradle boards here. And again, just our way of kind of showing the fact that so many different cultures express themselves in different ways. So it's really important to share that with people. So this is just another way of saying we're not all the same. Same with some of a small collection of the moccasin display.
Right.
Again, different time periods and different cultures just make things uniquely.
Well, thank you for joining us. We really
thank
appreciate
you.
it. Wicked Yankee TV has been so excited to spend the day at the Kearsarge Indian Museum. There's a lot to discover, so let's go look at it.
Thanks so much.
We're here at the Moore Dam in Littleton, New Hampshire with bear biologist Andrew Timmons to learn all about the black bears of the Northeast. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Well, it's pretty cool being a bear biologist.
It is.
I have never met a bear biologist. I think that's super cool.
Well, it's an enjoyable job. There's times when it's stressful, but
but all in all, they're a great species to work with and a very interesting species.
Well, what does a bear biologist do?
Well, historically, bear biologists were tasked with safeguarding, protecting bear habitat, bringing bear populations back from very low levels. But in this day and age, being a bear biologist is now really about managing conflicts between people and bears. We have, you know, wherever you are in the range of bears, anywhere in the United States or Canada, bear populations are higher now than they were at any point in history in the past. So we have a lot of bears around, for sure, but we also have a lot of people around. And when you get high densities of both of those, that's at times when conflicts can occur. So really, as a manager, much of my job now is trying to maintain a positive attitude of bears by people, and that can only be done by minimizing conflicts.
And educating people,
and
too.
educating people, absolutely, yes.
What are some of the common misconceptions that people might have about black bears, because that is a species that you will find in New Hampshire, Vermont, Maine?
Right. The biggest misconceptions are, first and foremost, is that they're a dangerous animal. You know, bears, like any wildlife, they're all unpredictable, but I would not classify bears as dangerous per se. They require respect. We advise people to keep their distance, but you know, you don't need to live in fear around bears. Bears, you know, they're coming into our yards for the easily accessible foods. That's generally the bird feeder or the unsecured garbage. They're not there to be aggressive towards people. And if you look at the number of bear-human encounters that occur across the U.S. in a given year, you know, they're extremely low. We've never had any issues like that in New Hampshire. So they're not the aggressive animal people think they are.
Oh, that's great. Well, when Bucky and I are driving throughout the area, we see they're so dark black. I mean, these animals are stunning when you come across them. So when you do come across them, you should be careful always driving at night, you know, especially when they're starting to emerge from the dens.
That's right.
When exactly do they come out of their dens?
Well, it varies, but by the time you get into mid-March anywhere in New Hampshire, you should be starting to expect bear activity, and as you'd expect, it starts in the south first and works north. You know, if you look in back of us at the hills, there's still pretty significant snowpack here, but as you get south of here, particularly south of Concord down to the Massachusetts border, it's essentially snow-free and bears are getting active. And the first calls we get every year is bears at my bird feeder. You know, the bears at my bird feeder, and it's why we really recommend people remove their bird feeders by April 1st. But we're starting to up that date, particularly in the southern part of the state. We're starting to use March 15th because, you know, if that food is out there, bears are going to find it. So mid to late March is when things really get rolling, and by early April, bears are pretty active throughout the state.
Oh, that's great. Coming out of the dens, being really hungry, this is really important for our viewers to realize about taking down potential food sources that could create a conflict.
Absolutely. You know, it's an important message every year, but really need to put extra emphasis on it this spring, because these bears are going to be in such poor physical condition, because we know some of the important spring foods that they rely on, like leftover nuts from the fall, aren't there. Bears are really going to be desperate, so it's absolutely essential that people be proactive. Don't wait for the bear to find your bird feeder, then take it down. Have it down by April 1, preferably March 15th, and don't even create that opportunity for a bear. And the reason we're asking this is we don't want bears to become conditioned to finding food in people's yards and becoming habituated to that lifestyle, because those are the bears that have relatively short lifespans. They end up getting killed often by the public, and it's not what we want to be seeing with our bears. So people really need to be vigilant, proactive, and it's a lot easier to avoid a conflict with a bear than it is to resolve one once it's began.
That's true.
You know, a lot of our species, you know, turkey, deer, you know, a lot of our species have really prospered, and bears are one of those. You know, there's more bears in the state now than there has been at any time in history. And, you know, a lot of it's due to a variety of reasons. It's due to our management. It's due to the fact that the public cares about bears, and they support safeguarding bears and properly managing bears. You know, I find that people in New Hampshire get excited about bears, like bears, and it's a lot easier to manage a species that people think positively of, and that's certainly the case here in New Hampshire.
What's really great about living in the Northeast is getting to learn about these animals. So what ways do the bears communicate with each other?
Well, communication with bears is done a couple different ways, largely through scent marking.
Oh, really?
Bears rub on trees, leave their scent. Other bears smell that scent and can identify different animals. But when bears are in close contact with each other, then it's posturing and it's noises. Some of the common things bears do is the bluff charge, which they'll also do to people, and it's often misinterpreted as an aggressive behavior by bears. But bears bluff charge each other all the time, and that's the and expelling air, chomping.
Can you do that again so we can hear that?
It's a and they chomp and they swat the ground, and you'll see bears do that to each other. And what it is, it's a bear telling another bear, you're too close, back away from me. And that's what bears are doing to communicate. There's also other noises bears make. There's moaning that indicates nervousness. There's a noise that when bears are close to each other, and another noise that they use to space each other out is a ho 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 noise that they'll make to one another.
Really?
So the noises that bears make that may not mean a lot to us mean a lot to bears. And,
Andrew, thank you so much for joining Bucky and me. We have had so much fun about learning about the black bears that are right here in New Hampshire. So thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Oh,
thank you.
Creating maple syrup is a fascinating process. Here, Paul Nyland of Hutchinson's Sugar Shack collects the sap. The sugar maple stand is prolific, with tubing and buckets for miles. It can only be done when the sap starts to flow.
Pure maple sap right there, yep.
Testing the sugar content of the sap is done with a hydrometer. The sap is poured into tanks, which is led to the evaporator below. These wood-fired stoves create great flavor and heat the sap to 219 degrees Fahrenheit. In 4 hours, 40 gallons of sap creates 1 gallon of maple syrup. It's a delicate balance. Too light a syrup can grow bacteria. Too heavy can make the syrup crystallize. The Hutchinson's Sugar Shack in Canterbury, New Hampshire is one of the many multi-generational maple producers in the state. Nick Costco, president of the New Hampshire Maple Producers Association, encourages others to get involved. New Hampshire, the 5th largest producer of maple syrup in the world, is the best.
That's beautiful.
There was a time in your life when you could recognize the faces of those who loved and hated, and those who sit between. There was a time in your life when you knocked the lamp that shattered, but it didn't really matter. It was replaced before your eyes. But time, it will leave you behind.
This is not as easy as it looks.
I know.
Right now we're boiling it out.
Are you kidding?